Welcome everyone to the Outtakes Movie Podcast, where we're going to go through every single movie of all time and rank them objectively best to worst of all time. I'm joined as always by my wonderful crew. Amelia, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Joe, welcome, of course.
What's happening?
Jacob, what's up, man?
I'm here as well.
Hey, there he is. Now then, this week we are covering a very interesting movie. We are covering The Shining. Before I hand off to Joe to take us through the movie, I want to go through two things. First off, make sure you've watched the movie as well, and let us know what you think of The Shining as we go through the movie. And especially because we're going to be spoiling the whole thing, and it is a kind of surreal experience. And secondly, there's a slight chance that we've all watched ever so slightly different versions of The Shining.
Yeah.
Confirm.
Yeah.
So I watched the extended Blu-ray version, the 2.5 hour version. Amelia, you saw it in cinema, correct?
I did, yep. And that was the longer one as well.
Jacob and Joe, which versions did you watch?
Plain old Now TV one, which I think is the
Now
short
TV
one.
The short one without,
It's
which is really bad because I have it on DVD as well, so I could have. I was like, it's on Now TV. My PlayStation's already on.
It's fine.
But
we've all experienced it differently. Maybe that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So Joe,
well, I have.
Take it away, man. Tell us about Shining.
So, right before we actually get into the actual Shining, I wanted to ask like a really simple question. What does everyone think of Stephen King and his writing?
He's an intriguing fellow,
To say the least,
I've never read any of his books.
He probably writes the most coherently of anyone fueled on cocaine.
That's fair.
He does seem like a crazy guy. Like, he seems really kind of like... Whenever I see him in interviews or hear stories about him, you're like, oh yeah, Stephen King's like that.
Yeah.
Well, so the only reason I actually asked is because I was going through my notes last night, and I actually realised that I rip into Stephen King too much.
Oh.
So I want to apologise to his fans right now, because I'm going to give a bit of a spoiler. I do not like Stephen King. I do not like his writing. So I'm going to state that right now. So apologies if you are a fan of his. But yeah, The Shining. This is I think this is one of Stanley Kubrick's best films. And obviously it's based on the book of the same name by Stephen King. And I'm using that word based very loosely. But, we'll get into that in a
You've
sec.
got two very strong auteurs there, and they all very much want to do their own thing. Like
100%.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Right, so I wanted to start this episode the way I started my Batman episode, with two questions. So who had seen this film before we watched it this week?
First time seeing it.
First time seeing it as well.
Fully.
So everyone, this first time all the way through for everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
I knew it, and I'd seen references, and I'd
Yeah.
watched as many spoiler review kind of things that you could watch, but never seen it all the way through, no.
Okay. Right. Oh, and that's actually quite good, actually, because like some of the stuff is it's fine. So question number 2 is, what did everyone think? Like, we'll go around each person individually, but I mean, don't give away too much because obviously we get the time.
Yeah, of course.
But so I'll start with you, Amelia. You know, what your first impressions, just like coming out of it, like what did you think of it?
So like I say, no spoilers. I'm not a horror fan. Like, I've never have been, but this is a different type of horror, like we're probably going to touch on later. And I liked it. It was good. It was clever. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, Jacob.
So I reckon it's a good thing that I'm gonna have it explained to me by you lot, because watching it through, I was like, okay, yeah, this is tense. This is good. I'm enjoying this, and then some of it, I was like, wait,
Yeah.
So, and I've tried watching Kubrick before, and this you can tell it's Kubrick. It's got some screechy violins in there, but yeah, I still enjoyed it. I thought it was a bit weird, but I still enjoyed it.
Okay, great. Go on, Sam.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm actually quite excited because in the middle of this, I'm excited to teach you, Jacob, some pretty interesting filmmaking stuff.
Yes.
Yes. Because the thing about this movie is, it's funny. We joke about the objective best to worst list. Objectively, this is very good filmmaking. Like, you can really pull some stuff out of this. But similarly to you, Amelia, I don't really like horror films, and I used to think it was just because I'm a pussy, and here's the thing, I am a pussy. But
Oh no, I'm a pussy.
but I don't think horror plots resonate with me well. I don't think their particular type of roller coaster really lands with me, because it doesn't feel like this really nice payoff at the end of like escapism. It's just like, oh, I guess that's over then. All right, good. That's usually where it goes. So I often hit, and it took this movie to make me realize this, a point of no return, which I will tell you what it is when we get through the movie, where the plot fails to have any emotional power on me at all. So I can't even be like scared or tense by it anymore. That being said, I still stand by. It's really, really high quality filmmaking, and I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah.
So
like I said, like last week, I had 3 different films that I wanted to, pick from for this week, and I couldn't decide, and I literally hadn't decided even like when it came to picking. I mean, well, I did, but throughout the whole episode, I was like, oh god, you got to pick something. And for anyone who's interested, the other 2 films I was going to pick from originally, it was between these 2, and it was John Carpenter's The Thing and Alien. Two films which I don't know if any of you have noticed, but because I couldn't decide between the 2, I've been like bringing them up a little bit more in conversation to see what kind of reactions I was getting from everyone, because I wanted to if no one had seen The Thing, I'd rather do that one. But then they're both like horror classics, and I'm like a huge sci-fi fan. So I think that's the reason those 2 films like came to my mind when I was trying to think of something to do for spooky season. But I was trying to decide, and then I think someone said something, or I read something, or I can't remember what it was, that about The Shining. I was like, and for a minute I was like, holy shit, I completely forgot about The Shining. So I was like, right, I'm gonna do The Shining, because I love this film so much. Like, it's like my kind of like go-to horror film, really. But obviously it's like not traditional horror, but we'll get into that. Like, even if you've not seen it, everyone knows The Shining, you know what I mean? Everyone knows, like, here's Johnny, and
it's referenced so much.
Literally, yeah. So you see like hundreds of parodies, and you recognise them as references to this film. And even because I didn't actually watch this until like I was in like year 9 anyway, but I knew all the bits. Like I remember being really surprised when I first watched it and found out the main character's name's Jack and not John, and I was like, oh, but this is the film where he goes, here's Johnny. Why is his name Jack? And then, like, if anyone's ever watched The Simpsons, there's that Treehouse of Our episode where they do The Shining. And she's like, give me the bad Marge or whatever. I knew that scene from The Shining because of that episode, which I don't know if that's a thingy, but
that's one of my favourite Treehouses, honestly.
But yeah, I really like it, so I consider it a good thing. But yeah, so before we get into the film itself, we're going to talk about the book. So has anyone actually read The Shining?
No,
but I know how it differs from the film.
Yeah. Well,
I'll let you take that.
The Shining, I have this. It's because of this book that I decided I do not like Stephen King, because I wanted to read it and I've tried and I've failed multiple times. I can't do it. Like I've come to the conclusion I just don't like him. Like I've tried to read so many of his books, I never finished a single one. And like, oh my god, he just talks too much. You know what I mean?
I love how it's a written piece of paper, but he talks too much.
Yes. Like I can just, you just go through your work, Stephen, and just take stuff out. You don't need all this. Like honestly, like Stephen, if you're watching, good job on becoming like crazy famous.
If you're watching, hi.
But I'm sorry, man, too much detail. Like, it's a bold statement, I know, because people like Stephen King, but, the man waffles. I can't stand it. Stephen King. But yeah, no, so if you've successfully managed to read The Shining, you know that the film really isn't a good adaptation of it at all. Our boy Kubrick has changed a lot, and I don't know if anyone even knew, but Stephen King was not a fan.
Yeah, he doesn't like it.
Hates it.
Yeah, he really doesn't like it. He famously called the film a big, beautiful Cadillac without an engine in it.
I like that.
Yeah, and he describes the film as being very cold, which I love because, the film's full of snow and that, so...
I think, I saw someone who analysed it who said that, and I like that a lot, yeah.
It's kind of... I actually read that fact before watching it this week, and, me and my girlfriend were watching it, and every time snow appeared on screen, I'd just, lean over and whisper, very cold, like that. And it's she didn't stick around to the end. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, no, he really didn't like this film, and he hated it so. Well, hate's a strong word, but he didn't like it so much that he actually produced and wrote a miniseries in the late 90s. And that's a much faithful adaptation. Has anyone seen the miniseries?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, it's not good. I watched one episode, and that was enough for me, honestly. It's not great. It's there's too many weird things in the book that don't translate over well into film.
Do you know what? On the topic of translating and stuff, it was only after I watched this that I properly tried to watch the Doctor Sleep trailer and pay attention to the marketing for that as well.
I need to look at that.
And all over the marketing is based on the work of Stephen King, from the author of It, that sort of thing. It's no mention of Kubrick whatsoever. And watching the trailer as well, it's very just flat, fucking boring, green and grey sets.
Do you think it's going to be a very
grades.
modern horror film?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to bear no fucking resemblance to Kubrick's vision at all.
This is my really weird thing about it. Because when I first watched the trailer, because I completely forgot that they were making this, and I watched the trailer, and I was like, is this going to be a sequel to the Kubrick film, or is it just going to be? Because it's weird. Because I was saying to you, Jacob, the other day, wasn't I? It's the Doctor Sleep film is an adaptation of a sequel to the book, but the film's a sequel to the film.
It's
the book
occupying this bizarre space where
it's weird.
It's trying to attach itself very strongly to King because it knows that attaching itself to Kubrick would be a mistake. But the logo is exactly the same as the film logo, and even the posters that I don't know if you've seen them on the buses. It's Ewan McGregor.
Oh
but
yeah,
with
his face with his
in the
it's so weird, isn't it? Yeah.
When we went to the cinema to see The Shining as well, and my dad got the actual film poster, it literally in a red band straight across the bottom, it just says Doctor Sleep in cinemas, So even for the re-release in the cinemas, they're still heavily promoting Doctor Sleep as once you've seen this, go and see that. But will they work?
See, I have a feeling that's why they've brought it back out in cinemas, because it's not even that it's not even that it's a certain thing. It's next year will be the anniversary, whatever anniversary it'll be. I don't want to do the maths. But next year will be the anniversary, so it's really weird. It'll be 40 years.
40 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they might bring it out again next year.
We'll all go see it next year as well.
I wouldn't mind seeing it in the cinema, actually. I watched
honestly,
Alien in the cinema, and
I'm so glad I saw it in the cinema for the first time, because there are certain things, especially actually the screechy violins, that in cinema, it adds a different tone to it. If I get the chance to see anything for the first time, or even the 100th time in the cinema, I will do it, because it's such a different atmosphere in a dark room with sound and a big
it's
telly.
So much different, than
just in your house. It's so different.
I've only ever experienced this one time, and I'm not sure if it's quite the same as seeing The Shining, but it must have been last year sometime. Yeah, it must have been December last year. Went to go see Die Hard in the cinema.
Wow.
It's still a classic though.
Brilliant.
I love that.
Absolutely. It was so, even though I've seen Die Hard a million times, the cinema changes it. It's so just better.
Yeah. Well, that was my thing with Alien, because obviously Alien is 40 years old this year, so they brought it out earlier in the year in the cinema.
They did, didn't they?
And I'm the same. With you, Die Hard. I've seen Alien so many times. It's one of my favorite films. I've seen it so many times, but just seeing it in the cinema, it was so different, and it actually was kind of scary a little bit. It's a bit, I wouldn't say outdated, because it's an older kind of, it was scary in the 70s, but now it's not so much. But when you watch it in the cinema, it's loud, and it's, and that's what I get the feeling that it would be with The Shining as well.
This is
like,
why it's
the
worth
bits.
seeing it,
Yeah.
though.
That's
Because
why I
we're from
really
that
want to see it in the
generation.
cinema. Yeah, it's
Like,
like
we completely missed it.
yeah, well, exactly, yeah. So we don't get films like this
Exactly.
anymore. Sad.
They'll be re-releasing Endgame into cinemas when we're like all 40, and we'll be like,
Literally,
yeah, well,
yeah.
I went to see that in the cinema when it was like hyped. Like my dad.
Just imagine what it was like back then. Oh,
I went to see something in the cinema, and my dad was like, "Oh yeah, I remember when I saw this in the 70s." I was like, "Ew, you're old." What? Like you forget that. Like it's been so long since things have been in the cinema. So it's crazy.
Yeah. See, you know what I've seen in the cinema, weirdly, that I always forget about? Ghostbusters. I've seen that in the cinema.
That's on soon.
I don't
They're
know why, I
re-releasing
can't
it,
remember why. But I just have that memory, and it was really good. But it's Ghostbusters, but like, in the cinema, it's like...
We
that
should go and
music.
watch more re-releases. Singing in the Rain was on
Yeah.
Sunday, and I didn't get to see that, and I was very sad.
I don't mind seeing that cinema, actually. To be fair, I just want us to watch any film in the cinema, really.
I'll keep an eye on
It's
the
just a different
view.
experience, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a
Other
different thing.
cinemas are available.
But yeah, The Shining. So one of the other things as well that King really didn't like, I don't know if anyone read this, but he had like a big issue with Kubrick casting Jack Nicholson as the lead role.
Really? Did he want Robin Williams?
You know what? Actually, one of the people they considered was Robin Williams. It was Robin Williams and Robert De Niro. They were the two that they were thinking. And it's
That would be so different.
like I read it, and I was like, I wonder if they used someone. I wonder if they used Robin Williams to get Nicholson again or whatever. But yeah, no, he really didn't like it, and the reason he didn't like it as well is because Jack Nicholson at the time, like he was known, but he wasn't as well known as he is like now. You know what I mean? The only thing really that he'd been in was it One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest or Cuckoo Nest or whatever?
I need to watch that. Apparently,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
That's like one of the things that he was in, and because King saw him in that, he felt that Jack Nicholson he looked too crazy.
He
So,
does.
like, yeah, but like this is the thing. Like he says, and this is an actual quote as well. Well, not the whole thing, but the end bit is that first bit when you first see Jack Nicholson and they sit down in Mr. Ullman's office and they're just talking about the job or whatever. King says that you look at him, you look at Jack Nicholson in that scene, and now this bit's the quote. You know he's as crazy as a shithouse rat. That's how King described him. And it's, I get it. Yeah.
Do you know what?
Like,
he's not wrong.
He
Well,
looks
yeah, exactly,
psycho. Yeah.
True.
Like, Jack Nicholson does look like a serial killer, ready to
Yeah.
go off.
It's the eyebrows. It's the whole,
It is the
like-
eyebrows. He's far too
It is,
happy
yeah.
about everything, and it's like, what? No, why? Why? What excites you about this? Mm-mm.
Yeah, literally. It's kind of See, this is my thing with it though. Like, I don't mind that at all. You know
No,
what I mean?
I don't mind it.
Like,
It's creepy, but
it's creepy, but like in the book is 447 pages long, and
It's quite tame for
like
King.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Have you seen it? It's about this big. It's huge. Like I put it down on the table and go like that. It's horrible. Yeah, so like Stephen King's his issues with Jack Nicholson was that the story of the main character is that he's just a normal guy, and then he just gradually becomes crazy. You know what I mean? As the story goes on, which I get. It's a good story. But, like, Stephen King was able to fit that into nearly 450 pages, whereas Kubrick had 2 hours.
Also, I don't know if this is a thing in the book. Is it a thing in the book? Because in the movie, it's very, very heavily hinted that essentially he was always destined to end up there. To end up in the hotel and always destined to commit those things. Like, if that is not a theme in the book, then you can say he's a normal guy who goes crazy.
Yeah.
But if it is a theme in the book, then you could say there are advantages to him already looking like a bit of a nut job at the start.
Well,
Like-
see, this is the really weird thing about the book, because in the book the hotel is a much bigger thing. You know what I mean? It's the hotel's whole. There's a bit in the book, the bit where Thingy comes back, Dick Holloway comes back. That's we'll get into that later on, but that bit in the book, apparently when he arrives in the book, like there's fucking spirits coming out the top of the hotel or whatever, and like there's no maze in the book, and instead it's like tree animals, and they all come to life and start chasing it.
That.
Yeah, and that all happens in the miniseries. And fuck me, does it look terrible? It looks so bad.
I bet.
And you're just looking at it like, oh my god. Like, I'm not surprised Kubrick cut all this out, because it's not great. But yeah. Hold on. Yeah, but no, like another like fun fact is, I got a fun fact about behind the scenes. It's completely unrelated, by the way. I just saw it at the corner of my eye. But you know the bit at the very beginning? Oh, you know what? You know what? Because I missed a bit out in my notes. Yeah, so right, originally, apparently, one of the other people they were thinking of casting for Jack was Harrison Ford, which I'm not 100% sure if that's entirely true, because they were filming this in 1979. He would have just finished filming Empire, or Empire came out in the same year, I think, did it? Yeah, Empire came out the same year. So he wasn't really that famous. He hadn't done Blade Runner yet, and he hadn't done Raiders of the Lost Ark, which Raiders of the Lost Ark was delayed because of the filming for this film. So I'm not 100% sure about the Harrison Ford one. But that's the segue into my fact, is that those scenes at the end of Blade Runner. Remember, Sam, the other day I was saying to you that there's that really crappy ending of Blade Runner. Yeah. Where they're going through the mountains and shit.
In the car,
yeah, we escaped, yeah.
I hate that ending.
It's so bad, yeah. But those clips of it, like, flying over the mountains were, over the credits, that's, like, outtakes.
From The Shining. I come from a Blade Runner family, so I knew that. It's so mad.
Yeah, they're all outtakes from the opening scene, and it's really weird. It's shit, so just they cut it out because it's a shit ending for that film.
There's another link to Blade Runner in this film, which we'll get to a bit later when we talk about the scene as well. But just thought I'd let you drop that nugget.
I'm excited to hear about that one because I only have the one Blade Runner fact.
Hey.
So I don't know that fact.
It's not. I guess I don't know. It's not a fact, but like it's a. Did you know? Carry on.
Right.
Here we go.
Back, like I said before, Raiders of the Lost Ark was delayed, and one of the reasons it was delayed. Did anyone ever hear about what happened on the set near the end of the filming for this film? Does anyone know? Film? Yeah, this film, The Shining. It was filmed at Elstree Studios in London. There was like a big thing that happened at the end of this. Does anyone know it?
Was there a big fire and all their fake snow melted? Oh, there was a fire?
Yeah, there was a fire, yeah. No, literally, yeah. So, because obviously Kubrick had this weird thing where near the end of his life, he didn't like travelling that much. So he did everything in England where he lived. So all of the interior shots were filmed here. Any shots that required him to leave this country, someone else did it. He wasn't present for it. So all those opening shots, he wasn't there for that. It was the same like when you watch Full Metal Jacket, that bit where they're meant to be in Vietnam at the end, that's an old oil refinery or something somewhere near London, and they just transported a bunch of pine trees in or whatever to like make it look like Vietnam because he refused to get on a plane and go to Vietnam. So fun fact for you there, yeah. But yeah, so all the sets were like built in studios, and because they had to figure out a way to get the light in through the windows so it looks like the sun like bouncing off like snow and stuff, they had to use a lot of lights. And near the end, they finished filming all the scenes, but one of the sets caught fire because of the light, and apparently it cost them $2.5 million to rebuild the studios, and that's why Raiders was delayed. And they actually, in the brand new studios, they filmed that. You know that bit in Raiders of the Lost Ark was in like the snake chamber, and they had that really high ceiling. The reason they got that so high and it wasn't like CGI or whatever is because they could build it in the new studio. So I don't know if any of you've seen it. There's a famous picture of Kubrick, and he's like stood in like a cult, like laughing or whatever, and there's like rubble around him. And that's because he was there. He went to the rubble and was just like, they just took a picture of him laughing because the set had burnt down after they finished singing it.
I mean, at least he's got a bit of
I
humour
love the picture so much. he's just there, like, he's just like happy laughing or whatever.
I've not seen that.
And yeah, you gotta look. It's a famous Kubrick picture. It might be one of those things that you've seen it, but now you know the context of it, so it makes it better.
Yeah, maybe.
It's kind of ironic actually that the set burnt down, because I don't know if anyone knew this, but at the end of the book, the hotel blows up.
Yes, because of the boiler.
And they cut that out of the film because the boiler blows up and the whole thing blows up. So it's kind of like a nice little coincidence there. Well, I mean, not for Elstree Studios or whoever had to pay for it, but yeah. But there's a bunch of other things different. So like you've got in the book, Jack has like a croquet mallet instead of an axe, which I think is really stupid.
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
It's not threatening at all. It's like walking around with this like mallet, and he's like, yeah, mallet. It's like, all right. But even in the TV movie, he bashes the door in with a mallet, and it's just significantly less threatening, and it's not great at all.
Has anyone ever seen that movie that Stephen King directed?
Which one?
Oh God, no. Wait, maybe.
I think it's called. My brain wants to say like Maximum Overdrive, but I might be wrong.
Ooh,
It's about this truck, this killer truck.
Oh, you
it's
know
alive,
what? Maybe.
And it's got the Green Goblin's face on it from the comics, like on the front of the truck, and it just like kills people, and that's the movie.
No, I've not. I don't think I've heard of that.
Sounds a bit shit.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, man. I mean, I I've heard of it actually. I knew that he directed something. I had it in my mind that he directed that miniseries, but he didn't. He just wrote it, and that's why it's shit. But no. But yeah, so the one last thing I want to talk about just before we get into the actual film is this is one of the more like known kind of differences between the film and the book is the room number. In the book, the room is 217, whereas in the film, obviously, it's 237. Does anyone know why they changed it in the film?
To annoy
Shits
Stephen
and
King.
gigs. Yeah.
Wait, what? Say that again.
To annoy Stephen King.
I mean, I hope so. That would be a better. I would do that, to be fair, if I didn't like the writer. I actually read a thing where Stephen King actually wrote a draft of the script for this film, and apparently Kubrick didn't even read it, and just wrote it himself. I can't remember what he said about Stephen King's writing. He called it like weak. I think he called it weak or something, and just didn't even read his version of the script, and just wrote his own. So, Kubrick didn't like him either, so that's fine.
Wow.
But yeah, no, the reason he changed it is because the hotel they used for the exteriors, the one in like the mountain and stuff, the hotel is called the Timberline Lodge, and it's in Oregon. And the hotel management actually asked the crew, Kubrick, the crew, whatever, studio, whatever, to change the room number, because there was an actual room 217 in that hotel, and they were afraid people would avoid the room.
That's really stupid,
So,
because if they'd have played the long game, people really would have wanted to stay at
This
Yeah.
is the thing. Apparently now, room 217 is the most requested room in the whole hotel.
217
So,
is...
217, yeah.
237, so they'll
That
go
makes
for the next
sense,
best thing, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the reason they decided to go like really far up, because there was no 237. But like, has anyone ever heard about the conspiracies in this film? I mean, obviously this film has like a shit ton of conspiracies or whatever, but I'm talking about the moon landing one. Has anyone ever read anything about the weird? Yeah,
I have heard about
Very
this.
vaguely, yeah. I do know
Yeah.
Kubrick's supposed to be responsible for faking the moon landing, and
yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone always says that this film is his apology for faking the moon landing, and I mean.
All
I don't
because
know
of a
quite-
jumper. It's like...
It's because of that jumper, that Apollo 11 jumper.
Oh, is that it?
oh man,
I know, this is the other thing as well. The other thing that they say is, because apparently the distance between Earth and the moon is like 237,000 miles. And I googled it, and it isn't. That's not the number. I mean, I'm not like, I don't do space stuff or whatever the hell you call it. I can't remember what you call it, astrology or whatever.
Astrology,
Oh,
yeah.
that's exactly it, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not one of those people. So, I mean, I don't know if
astronomy,
Google's right.
not astrology.
Astronomy.
Astrology is like
Astrology,
signs
what's that
and
one?
stuff.
Astronomy's
Oh,
just
yeah.
stars and shit, isn't it?
Oh, well, the moon.
We were close.
Space shit. You're not an astronaut.
Space, yeah, right, yeah.
There
So
you go.
spaceship, basically, So I did a quick Google, and it's like 300-something thousand miles or whatever. So I was like, well, it's obviously not right then, is it, dickheads?
Do you know what they would say,
But,
though? These people, they would
go
tell
on.
you that that's just a number invented by NASA in order to cover
Probably,
up
yeah.
Kubrick's apology.
It's literally like, it's just, it's so... I mean, like I said, I don't do space stuff, so I don't know the actual number. But I mean, the distance between the number I found and the number of the 237, it was so massive that there's no way. And they couldn't be like, oh, well, the moon was closer in the 80s. Was it? I don't think it was.
I mean, it probably was, but not by that much.
Yeah, but not by like
100
over
100,000
100,000 miles. Like, just imagine living in the 80s, the moon was just huge in the sky. Like, whoa! Like, man. But yeah, so that was all the kind of the stuff about the book. So in classic classic Stephen King fashion, I've waffled on about random crap that no one cares about. So let's just get into the film.
Love that.
So obviously there's a lot to unpack with this film. So I'm gonna go through the film like scene by scene, kind of like we normally do. But I'm gonna kind of be, because obviously, like I said, there's a lot to talk about. So I'm gonna kind of jump over certain scenes.
That's fine.
But like,
We'll be
if
here for
someone has,
hours.
Cool.
well, yeah, exactly. So if anyone has like anything they want to say about a scene that I jump over, just like jump in and.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Is I was reading a thing earlier that basically, so you know, the opening credits. Would anyone say there's anything particularly interesting about those credits?
They're so long.
Spooky.
Kubrick scholars would say there's lots interesting. For example, the way they move across the screen, going like from the bottom to the top, guiding the same trajectory as the car. This little car, as Bumblebee.
Oh, whoa.
Jack Nicholson's driving in Bumblebee. It's going the same direction, basically like a current pulling him towards the hotel that he can't possibly escape from. That is how much ink has been spilled over this movie that people are writing stuff like that.
I mean, you know, knowing what Kubrick was like, it wouldn't surprise me if that thought crossed his mind at some point. Like, he was like, oh yeah. See, this is my problem with, I like the thingy though. I like the music. I love the theme for this film. It's amazing. It's got all those creepy, weird sounds as it goes on, the weird groans and the screeches and things. And yeah, and okay, the opening scene's fine. It's got the nice, pretty landscapes, and you see the car going towards the thing or whatever. But I just don't like the way the things go up. It doesn't. It looks like it's been made in like fucking Windows Movie Maker or something.
It's quite jarring.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm like, I feel like I'm watching some 2012 YouTube tutorial or something. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, you know that song, that Dreamscape song that was in all the tutorials, is like,
Yeah.
I feel that's gonna start in a set, or some like other royalty-free song.
Amazing,
and it's gonna come up saying like, how to download Minecraft for free, exclamation mark, exclamation mark 1. You know what I mean? I feel like that's gonna come on screen. Like, it was probably fine and like edgy or whatever in the 80s, but like, it just looks cheap in 2019. You know what I mean?
Really
like,
true.
Just, it's just, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be, like, people who love the film who are going to hear me say that and be like, oh, you bastard. But, you know, it's kind of shit. I'm sorry. There's probably a reason he did it, but, you know, it's kind of shit. You don't even use a nice font either, just saying. But, yeah. So, obviously, oh, crap. We get to the hotel, and we meet Jack, and you know, he's looking all friendly. The hotel looks nice. Everyone's like, oh yeah, everyone's happy. We're gonna go home, whatever. We go into the office and they're talking. We meet Wendy and Danny, and of course, like the imaginary friend Tony as well, who doesn't appear in the film. That thing that he does with his finger as well. I actually found out that was something that Danny Lloyd did in his audition. He just did it. He was just like talking to his finger in his audition, and they loved it so much that they kept it in.
Oh wow!
I thought you said like a
it
fucking
is
devil
unsettling.
finger or something.
I don't know.
Devil
like,
finger.
You guys remember Devil Finger?
that?
Yes, I do.
That's what that shit was. That's all that is.
Well, that's probably like thing. I thought that was really weird. That seems like something like Kubrick read the book and he was like, "Oh, I don't want him to appear. I'll just do something weird instead." But no, it's not. It's just like weird. It's cool. I think it's quite cool. Yeah. But yeah, I was wondered as well. Like, Tony. How did he come up with that name? Like, because obviously, like, he hears people talking to him.
Maybe he
hears
likes
Tony
gangster
talking to him.
films.
Well, this is the thing. Like, did he like? Did he hear like Tony's voice in his head? And like one day he just appeared, and he was like, "Yo, what up? My name's Anthony, but my friends call me Tony," or something like that. Like,
a big Italian mobster accent.
Yeah, like he's just like, "Hey, Danny."
I mean,
that sounds more like that guy from Star Wars, doesn't it? That like wasp guy.
Watto.
Oh, Watto.
Yeah, him. Yeah. Oh, Danny.
I mean, if you take the idea of The Shining being a real power, then yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. Could you imagine if it had gone like all the other way, and the bit where like Danny describes it as a man that lives in his mouth and then crawls into his stomach? If they'd have actually like CGI'd in a little man, like,
oh no,
like looking over his teeth and stuff.
That would be unsettling in
Absolutely
itself.
terrifying.
it would. Could you imagine him just opening his mouth and just seeing like a face in the back of his throat? Or something? That would be
Death
horrible.
Stranding.
Don't like
That's worse than
that.
the film.
Literally, yeah. Oh, that'd be horrible. See, that's in the TV series as well. He does actually appear. Like Tony is like a physical thing that appears, and he just like floats around and he walks. And like as the show gets on, as the show like goes on, he comes like closer and closer to him. So like at the beginning, he's like way over and whatever, and then the show goes through, and like Tony like comes like older, like he comes like closer and closer. But there's like a weird twist at the end. So at the very end of the TV show, it skips a couple of years to Danny's graduation, and Danny stands up, and he's Tony. Like he's the actor playing older Danny is the one playing Tony. So like this whole it's this big weird reveal where Tony's just older Danny, and it's really weird and it doesn't make any sense. And like Jack appears and it's this whole thing and it's shit as well.
So that mean Ewan McGregor is just going to be Tony, you know? It's all going to be weird.
Yeah, well, that's
like...
the thing. I don't know if that's in the book, but if it is, then is he going to be like talk? Imagine if he like talks to like his younger self or something, and that's the big plot twist of the whole film.
Oh my god, it'll be like CGI Ewan McGregor from like
Oh.
Phantom Menace.
Like,
Yes, please.
oh god,
More
imagine.
Ewan McGregor, but like actual Obi-Wan
CGI
Kenobi.
him into clips.
Ewan McGregor.
With the little hair.
In Doctor Sleep, yeah.
Oh,
The
God.
robes and everything.
Jesus. Well, did you know as well that the kid who plays Danny as well, he's actually never done anything else since this. He was in like one other thing, and he's like a biology teacher now or something.
Whoa.
Yeah, he didn't even know they were making Doctor Sleep until he saw the trailer, and he said that it looked
Oh,
alright.
wow.
So there's that.
I love how they didn't
Um,
even like give him a heads up.
Yeah, so. Well, yeah, you'd think, yeah, but I mean, I guess not.
Maybe.
You better get like free admission or something. Get to see the film for free. Like
Imagine
he
not even
literally
that.
appears in it. Like I imagine there's going to be a flashback with him as a kid at some point because there's
Presumably.
literally one in the trailer. So be like, I'm literally the kid in the thing. So let me in. Like it's like I mean I can't imagine they would do that. You know. But yeah, so like you said before that there's different versions of this film. So I watched the one in Now TV. But one of the weird things about this is the difference, right? So the bit when Danny has the vision, the very first one,
Yeah.
he sees the twins and he sees the
blood.
the blood, yeah.
Yeah.
So Jacob, you said you watched it on Now TV as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that bit, he has the vision, doesn't he? And he just cuts straight to closing day,
Yes.
doesn't it? Yeah. So, Sam and Amelia, the versions that you watched, what happens there? Is there a bit where the doctor's
The
examining?
doctor comes in, and
Yeah.
It tells you
explains,
about...
explains to Wendy that it's probably nothing. It's just the kid acting up. You know, these things happen sometimes. He's clearly not like socializing well, so he's made up a friend, and don't worry about it.
Yeah. In either of your versions, was there a bit where Wendy tells her about
The
time
arm
Jack broke his
dislocation.
arm?
Yes.
There was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So because I was trying to find, because I knew that bit was in it, and when it wasn't in the film, I was like, wasn't there a bit where she tells someone about thingy? So I went back and I tried to find the scene, and I couldn't actually. I found a version of it where it cuts off just before she tells her. So like, yeah, it's really weird. So like, the doctor's like, oh yeah, doing this, whatever. Wendy says something, the doctor says something, it cuts, closing day, and I'm like, okay.
I'm glad that I saw that scene because, to be honest with you, if I hadn't have just seen it and then whatever it is, like an hour and 40 minutes later, when Jack's like, "Okay, I hurt the kid once, but it was an accident."
Yeah, you
know,
don't know the context between it, would you?
Yeah, totally in the dark.
Well, Jacob, what did you think of that then? Because in that bit, that would have been the first time you're hearing about Jack hurting Danny. Yeah. So what did you think about that?
So this is all while he's at that imaginary bar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So he just says, "Oh, I did it once," and you're like, "Okay, how serious do you injure a kid for it to be like, oh, you definitely strangled him again this time?" Like, to begin with, I was like, oh, maybe did he like try and stab him? Did he go crazy before? Did he actually strangle him? I had no idea. And then as soon as he was explaining, and I slipped, I was like, what, was that actually an accident? Or is he just coming up with a really shit excuse for the reason that he actually beats kids?
Yeah. Well, see, this is the interesting thing. Like, it changes. I'm actually glad that there's two versions here, because like it changes you, like, the way you look at him. I think like when Jacob and you saw it, so you were kind of like, at that point you're already like, oh wait, so he's done something like this before.
Yeah.
Kind of thingy. Whereas when you see it at the beginning, you already know that he's a bit thingy, so it changes the way you look at him throughout the beginning of the film.
Yeah, I mean,
so
at that point, whether he did or didn't do it was a bit ambiguous, but it was so odd that it felt like he switched characters, like, overnight. He just changed. And so it felt more like he was coming up with an excuse and had been crazy all this time and just kind of switched between.
Yeah.
But actually, if he did go crazy just at the hotel, I imagine seeing the full version would have helped explain that a little bit better.
Yeah. See, I was trying to think about, like, I don't know which version I would prefer to see, because obviously the version I remember is her telling her at the beginning. So I knew about it all the way through anyway. So, and because I watched this like years ago, I can't remember what I thought. But I think that, maybe finding out at the beginning would be a little better, maybe. I don't know.
I think it helped for me seeing it first time.
Yeah. Because you go into it knowing already that he's capable of hurting his thing.
I tell you what, the line does a lot of work because, and I think very much on purpose, Jack and Danny have such a little interaction in this movie. They only really directly interact like 2, maybe 3 times. So even though what you're being told is that Jack has hurt him in the past, it's still being told about an extra interaction, and it did some work early on in the movie to make them feel like a more cohesive unit, like a full family.
Yeah.
To me, anyway.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. Like, it makes, I feel like knowing that he's done it before makes that bit where it's just him and Danny in the bedroom, and he's like, "Would you hurt me and Mum?" And he's like,
"Yeah.
I would never." He would like, "I love you, Danny," or whatever. It makes that bit a little more like tense because you know that he has done it in the past. He's saying that he wouldn't, but you know that he has. So it's kind of I
love where it's said as well in context to what happens, because even though I've not seen it, everyone knows the scene. I was like, oh, isn't that the room? Do you know what I mean? I think that's quite good. Got a bit of foreshadowing.
Well, it's thingy in it. So I think that's quite interesting actually. That there's different versions. I don't quite know why Sky cut that bit out. Like, I don't know.
It's not Sky. So,
well, it's not. Yeah, it's thingy.
So
isn't it
what
the American
is,
version or something?
What it is. So the US version came out before it was released internationally, and that's the full 2.5 hour version.
Yeah.
And that's what if you Google like The Shining runtime, that's the information you'll get. And when it came to distributing internationally, there's been a little bit of debate, but the thing that I think it is it was money saving. It was just literally cheaper to get the shorter reels and to get and to distribute on like VHSs and stuff that were under 2 hours than to buy the ones that went over it. So they cut 24 minutes to save money. That was it. It's just the money saving
That's really
thing.
sad. That makes me really sad.
Especially it's how we stream everything now. It's not like we're physically plugging in a VHS.
Well,
You'd like to
'cause
think,
that-
well, why not
that's-
just get the full
That's
version?
the weird thing. Yeah, because
Yeah.
well, one of the reasons they do it, I think now, is not to save money, but instead to make money. Because now
Yeah.
they get to charge you more to watch the extended version.
Yeah.
It's always direct.
Which is what happened to me. I was the mug that bought like a really expensive Blu-ray to watch the full
You're the
movie.
reason to do it, Sam.
Damn it, Sam.
I mean, I paid $5.99 for the cinema, so I guess, yeah.
I mean, I completely. Well, so the only reason I even looked into it is because I was watching it the other day, and I was like, "What was that scene?" And I just googled it, and it was this whole big thing about how it's all the different versions. Like, I'll get to it later, but there's a bit with like Wendy. I don't know if like it was in like near the end of the film. I'll talk about it later. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's really weird. But yeah, so so there's that bit, and they go to closing day, and we hear about the bit with the cannibals, and they get stuck in there, they have to eat each other and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like that really weird thing where it's like, what's that weird, is it? It's like it's fine, because they heard it on the TV, and it's like my dad used to do that to me.
It's like you're so
We said
desensitized to it, yeah.
Like, he was like, yeah, it was like, oh, well, it's fine, because he saw it on YouTube, he saw it on, you know, so like, I mean, it makes my dad sound like he's really old, he's not. he's very hip. But like, there's that. I think that bit, that story, just reinforces like the history of the area, I think. But then, actually, saying that, doesn't he say that it wasn't even in that part of? I can't remember.
I don't think it was, but the fact that they mention it is basically
Yeah,
making the area
it
more
kind of
sinister.
just- Yeah, because there's another theory as well that this film is about like the massacre of like Native American tribes.
Yeah, it's something to do with
It's a
it's
really-
built on a I've
Yeah,
read the theory.
and like it's something like there's little things like the bit where Jack's like throwing the ball at the wall, and he's throwing it at the tapestry thing on the wall, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, America just and then all the times there's violence, there's red, white, and blue or whatever, something like that. I didn't really read it, it's stupid, so I didn't really read into it that much. But yeah, so they look around the hotel. We get like a tour of the hotel. We see all the rooms and all the places that we become familiar later on, and we meet
Hong
Dick
Kong
Halloran.
Fooey.
Whoa,
There's a hint for you.
What?
It's the guy who does the voice of Hong Kong Fooey.
what is it
Not
actually?
even joking. It's Hong Kong Fooey.
Oh, that's amazing! I
And
didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
My dad
so
was
cool.
like, "Yeah, that's Hong Kong Fooey," and I was like, "No."
Well, that's just made him even better.
Exactly.
Amazing. Oh man, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah, you carry
Well,
on.
so Hong Kong Fooey tells us about The Shining. We find out. I think it's quite thing actually, because in the book it's like a whole thing. Like he's like, oh yeah, this is The Shining, whatever. Whereas in this, it's like just a small interaction, isn't it? And all we know is that we find out Danny's not like the only weirdo who can like see stuff. Like
Yeah.
It establishes the possibility that other people can do it. I think the theory that Jack has the shine as well, or that Jack can shine, it kind of hints at, not, well, it doesn't hint it, but you know what I mean, that's something, it's one of the theories that the film like puts forward. So, but I think by you finding out that there's other people who can do it, it creates the possibility for a theory like that. So yeah.
I honestly think Jack can shine. It certainly explains
Yeah.
one scene we'll be getting to at some point.
yeah.
Like because it's a plot hole otherwise. So I think
Yeah,
he can
well,
shine.
yeah, literally, yeah. That, well, I know. I think I know what scene you're on about. And yeah, I totally agree. That's the reason. But yeah, so they do all the thing, don't they? He talks about we hear about room 237, and it's like, oh, don't go in there. It's all spooky, and yeah. So you're like, oh, what's in room 237? I remember watching this film as well and thinking like, seeing the outside of the hotel and being like, there is no way that hotel that the second floor has more than 37 rooms. There's no way at all. Like, it's too small, but, you know. But then, that's actually another thing, is that, did anyone, like, notice, like, how weird the architecture was for this place? Like, it made absolutely no sense, and it changed constantly. It's, like, a really subtle thing, but that bit, when it skips, the next bit where Danny's, like, riding round the thing, the set changes. I don't know if you've noticed.
So
Oh.
this is important actually. I think this is a a thing I think is important to touch on. I'm sure Amelia and Joe, you've already picked up on it. Jacob, Jacob, yeah, I was going to ask you directly. Did you notice anything about the framing of this movie?
As in, it was in the middle, lots, or
Yeah, basically, yeah. So, so this movie's shot on like ultra wide angle lenses, almost always, and almost the entire movie, save from some very select sequences and scenes, the actor is positioned in the middle third. Anyone who does photography or film will know that you can do it now. If you turn your phone on, you turn your camera on, you'll get a grid system. And traditionally speaking, if you've got an important character, you will position them in the right or leftmost third of the screen, depending on what you're trying to convey, because it's just the thing that's most naturally pleasing to the eye. Whereas in this one, all of the people who are supposed to be the main characters occupy the middle third, which means the right and leftmost third of the frame almost always is the true main character of the film, the hotel itself.
Yeah.
huh?
Pretty clever.
I just thought, oh, look, they're in the middle. That's nice. Okay. Sure.
Well, this is the thing, like, the design of the hotel, because obviously they built the whole thing on the sets, they got to design it like a certain way. So it was designed to freak you out, basically. So the architecture was purposely wrong. So, like, the bit when they go into the manager's office, it's got that big window behind him, hasn't it?
Mm.
But then when he comes literally in the same shot, it's like a long shot, he comes out, no, it's as he's outside of it and they go into it, you look, there's a corridor that goes behind it, so there shouldn't be a window there. There's literally, like, there's a corridor that goes down, it splits both ways, so there shouldn't be a window in that room. It should just be a corridor, it should just be a wall, but because it is, it kind of, it's weird, it makes the hotel seem wrong.
Yeah.
But that's the point. Like the bit where you follow Danny round, like he goes round a corner or something, and then all of a sudden you see the balcony at the top, like he's suddenly gone up a floor, and you can see through like a crack in a door that the balcony to that big room, like they're now up a floor, and it's really weird. And that's kind of how they do it. And it's like long corridors, and it's winding stairs, and it's really weird. And that's one of the things that's wrong with the TV series, is because he filmed it in the hotel that inspired Stephen King. So it's just a normal hotel, and it just doesn't fit at all. It's not, there's nothing wrong with it. It's got like floral patterns on the walls, and it's too normal. And that's why I think the hotel's really kind of like interested in this one. But yeah, so but yes, let's say.
Who do you reckon shoots the best corridors, Kubrick or Ridley Scott?
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
You know what? The one who makes those Marvel Netflix shows where they're all fighting in them. That guy. Whoever does those. Them.
I remember watching Daredevil the first time and being just like watching it. I was like, oh,
corridors
so though. I was literally like, and even when they tried to do it in like the other, well, I mean, I say tried, they did it quite well in the other series as well. But they always have like a corridor shots, don't they? And they're just, they're so cool. They're so cool. Do more. Why are they not in films? Corridor shots can be so cool. Remember that one in Rogue One where Darth Vader's just like...
Oh, I saw you to tell about this today. Oh, yes. Don't even start.
I love that scene. So that made that film like... Oh, I love that film just purely for that scene. Mm-hmm. I love corridors. Corridors can be so interesting.
Speaking of corridors, The Shining.
Yeah, so, The Shining. But yeah, so we'll move on. So like... we get Jack, and there's that scene where Wendy's like waking him up with breakfast, and I think even at this point he's acting pretty normal.
Yeah,
I don't know. He dips his bacon in that egg for a long time.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that one. He's just like, oh, yeah, I'll give you that one.
You know what? I tell you, it's like stop.
The hotel has quite the influence on him in that scene. I know what you mean. But like, yeah, I mean, other than obviously the bacon and the egg thing. He's acting pretty normal.
Yeah.
Like in the book, they're like the two of them. They're like about to get divorced, and like they go on to the thing. They go to like to the hotel to try and like fix the marriage or whatever. But here they're just kind of like happy. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do some writing. And she's like, oh yeah, go for a walk. Oh, it's fine. And he's like, oh yeah, books and stuff. And it's, I don't know, it's weird. And then obviously they cut to Jack's throwing the ball around, and he's obviously like putting off his writing or whatever. And they go around. We see the maze for the first time properly here as well, and it like establishes it. And it's like, you know, all that stuff. I really like that shot as well, where he like leans over the maze and you see them.
Yeah,
in the
really
middle.
cool.
Fun fact for you as well. I've actually seen the prop they used for that scene in real life. Like the actual maze. So earlier this year in summer, there was like a Kubrick expedition in London.
There was.
Yeah, and me and my mate went to it, and that was the only reason we went to London, to go to this Kubrick expedition. I also saw Buckingham Palace that day as well for the first time in my life.
Nice.
It wasn't as good.
But Mona Lisa was thoroughly disappointing.
Yeah. It's like thingy. I mean, well, no, Liz was home, so that was kind of awesome. Well, no, it wasn't. It was fine.
Liz was
Good old Lizzie.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to do. I'll stand outside someone's gate and just look, oh yeah, the Queen's in there, right? Everyone's like taking pictures. But yeah, that's a whole different thing. That's just British tourism or whatever. But yeah, no, I've seen like the actual, the maze they used in the film. And I should warn you as well, because I did this while I was watching it with my girlfriend, and that was one of the other reasons she left halfway through. Every single time something comes up on screen that I've seen in real life in this expedition, I will point it out. Because...
Nice.
Literally, so I was watching it, I was like, I've seen the real version, I've seen that in real life, and
Flex.
seen that, and yeah, literally, and it's a weird thing to think here, but yeah. So I'm going to do that throughout this, so just be prepared. So yeah, obviously we got him looking over the maze, and it's got a cool shot, and she's like wandering around or whatever. And then we see Danny, and he comes across room 237, and we see like the famous carpets as well, like you always...
Spoons carpets, love it.
Spoons carpets.
Spoons carpets. That's what they are.
He's not wrong.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, it's not... That's a fair shout, to be honest.
First time I saw it, I was like, that's a spoons carpet.
You might just wandered into spoons. There's a spoons on the second floor.
I'm never going to be able to go back into spoons the same way again.
See, my boyfriend's mum has just redecorated the house, and in every bathroom is... I'm not even joking. The wallpaper is the Shining carpet, and we were like, "You do realise that is the exact paper from design from The Shining?" And she was like, "Oh, shit, too late." She couldn't do anything about it, but
that's so weird. Like,
it's a cool pattern though.
It's a cool pattern, but I don't know if I'd think it. I don't know if I'd have it on my wall. What, in the bathroom, did you say?
It's in every bathroom, yeah. Well, there's two, but yeah.
Wait,
it's in the bathroom.
hold on. Every bathroom? How many bathrooms do they have?
They're in a weird house where there's the downstairs, the middle, and then the upstairs. And the living room and kitchen are in the middle. And then there's bedrooms on the bottom, so there's a bathroom on the bottom and the top.
Like this.
Yeah, it's really
good. Actually, yeah.
Little bathroom on the bottom, big bathroom on the top kind of thing.
Bad. I mean...
Yeah, he doesn't live in a mansion.
Well, who puts wallpaper in the bathroom though?
Don't ask.
Like, will it not get weird? And I'm just saying,
get damp,
weird.
won't
Yeah, I don't think I've ever in a bathroom that had wallpaper, but I don't know. I mean, it's a Shining wallpaper, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, so my only issue with this scene actually is the fact that he would have had to have dragged that bike up 2 flights of stairs. Like, who's got the effort to do that? You know what I mean? Like, if I'd done
cut
that,
to the scene of him
he's literally just he's 5 or 6 or something. Man, he was dragging that bike up them stairs or something.
Probably have a lift,
scuffing
right?
up the carpet.
Yeah, they've got lifts.
Well, I mean, I suppose, yeah, but...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but they're bloody,
just
so maybe you wouldn't go near
parking into the lift or whatever. Is he tall enough to reach the button? This is a completely unrelated...
Do you know what's really good in this scene? I mean, it's good in the whole movie. Sound design is very, very good.
It is.
And I love in this scene the difference between hearing the wheels on the hardwood floor and then the carpet. It's unnaturally been manipulated to sound like it's sort of the sound's being drowned and like it's underwater. Yeah. It's great. It's really cool.
It's really cool. I love the sound design in this film. It's so good. Oh, there's a bit later on. I'll talk about it a bit more later on. But it's just the way the sound works with what's happening in the scene. Like when someone screams and it goes, something like that. Like spikes. It's so good.
But it's like you said with the screeching violins. I can imagine at home that can get annoying, but in the cinema you just feel so uncomfortable. It's loud and you just can't stop it. And it works so well.
Like with the opening scene, even with watching it here, I was kind of I always forget that bit's at the beginning with the theme, And I'm just kind of like, it makes me so uncomfortable. It's all the screams and the weird screeches and the groans. I'm like, okay. I mean, that's obviously the point in it, but like, it's weird. It's really weird. But yeah, so obviously then we move on. There's the bit where he's writing away, and it does that really thing. Is it? I think it's this bit where Danny's about to go into the room, but then he doesn't.
Yeah.
And then the music gets like really, really tense, and then it just cuts suddenly to Jack just writing, and it's like goes really silent, and it's just him typing. And then obviously Wendy walks in, and this is the first kind of time that we see him being like confrontational.
Yeah.
So the bit, interestingly about this scene actually, is that apparently this scene was kind of like co-written between Nicholson and Kubrick, because Jack Nicholson was a writer while he was acting, and he told Kubrick a story about how the person he was living with, whenever he was writing and the person he was living with would come and distract him, he would get really agitated and really angry at her.
Oh, wow.
And so Kubrick wrote this scene for him to do. So his reaction, like the bit where he's like, if you see me typing or you see me do anything, just assume that I'm working kind of thing. That's apparently something that he would actually... Yeah, that's apparently something that he would actually say. So that's why I always get the feeling that bit is... that's like a really... You get like, I don't know. That's like... I don't want to sting you because it's not... It's one of my favourite scenes-ish, kind of. I mean, it's really aggressive, but like the way he... It's a genuine acting, I think. Like, if I was going into acting... Yeah, like, if I was going into acting, that would be a scene that I would study, you know what I mean? Because it's really good. Because you can just see it in his face, the way he's like... It's like, you know, he's just kind of like, just fuck off. It's really genuine, and I think that's the reason, is because, like, he's actually experienced it. But does anyone actually know what Jack's writing in this film? He never actually says, but there's a hint in this scene what he's writing.
Well, like what is it?
What it's meant to be like writing.
Yeah, obviously we see the bit later on where he's in the typewriter and stuff.
It's not something fucking dumb, like it's not the book, is it? It's not
he writing The Shining?
No,
he's
not writing The Shining.
Thank
Don't worry.
God.
No. So it's weird. It's one of the few things actually, other than it's like a minor thing that never comes into it, is that he's writing the same thing that he's writing in the book. And in the book, he comes to the hotel writing some other thing. I don't know what the other thing was. But while they're there, and this is like a big moment in the book, is he's looking around the hotel and he finds like a scrapbook of all the history basically of the hotel. And that in the book is the moment the hotel kind of like grabs him. And he becomes like... That's like happens in the beginning, and that's the moment he becomes like, you know, the hotel starts to change and make him crazy. That obviously doesn't happen in the film. But in this scene, if you look on the table, you can actually see the scrapbook is open on the table. So the book he's writing is the history of the Overlook Hotel. That's what he's meant to be writing. Yeah.
I feel
really
like I remember
weird.
seeing a book open, but I didn't really pay much attention to it, so that makes sense.
Well, see, this is the really thing, because I thought that he was just... You're not meant to know what he's writing. But the fact that they put the scrapbook there tells me that they've obviously thought about it.
I thought he already had a... Because when he's at the interview to begin with, doesn't he say something about, I've just started a writing project? So like,
well, yeah, exactly, yeah. Like,
and then he just suddenly decides that the writing project is going to be about the hotel that he didn't know he was going to be working at.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. In the book, apparently, yeah, he's writing on something completely unrelated, and then he finds a scrapbook and just changes his mind and starts a new project. And
maybe that is an
hotel.
Easter egg then. Maybe if you...
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking it might be, yeah. But it's really cool. But yeah, so... another thing as well, I've seen the typewriter as well, just saying, in real life, real typewriter in person. Boom, another reference to the expedition I went to.
You know, it's called an exhibition, right?
I was
Not
just
an
gonna
expedition.
say,
Am I
do you
saying?
mean exhibition?
Oh.
Am I saying expedition?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm meant to be saying. Oh, wait, hold on.
I wasn't sure how many
that's
times I could hear you say
Kubrick
expedition.
I mean, that's
Expedition.
Like, where's he
We just
going?
go up to the hotel. What do you think? Oh no, have I been saying expedition this whole time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you never
that's
once
so
said it
bad.
correctly.
Oh, you know what? I'm just not gonna say it. I'm just gonna say. I'm not gonna
The
say it
Kubrick
again. I'm
thing.
just because I'm gonna say expedition again if I'm not thinking about it. Oh God, does that mean that every time I tell people about it, I've been saying, oh yeah, I went to this cubic expedition in London. Going around his
possibly.
house.
No one's had the heart to tell you.
Oh, you know what? I hope that's actually not the case. Oh,
It's only angry, tired Jacob at 11:15 who's like, fuck off! Exhibition!
Well, I'm only one of those things.
I mean, I haven't had tea yet, so I don't mind if we wrap this up sooner.
Well, it's okay. I've actually this.
Yeah, the next scene, they're in the maze, Jack's chasing them.
And then the film ends. But yeah, like we're actually near the thing now because the snow appears and everything's very cold. You know, it's a reference to Stephen King. And you know they have an innocent snow fight, and Jack does that really creepy face where he's like staring at the camera and.
That
it's very
literally
uncomfortable.
scarred me.
But like, honestly,
I've never seen Jack Nicholson's face so big. It was horrifying.
I like to think that that's just Jack Nicholson's resting face. And
Yeah.
it was whispered
Resting
to the
bitch
camera,
face.
but camera guy was like, "Hey, yo, man, get that on camera quick before he moves." And it's just while they were on a break. I like to think that's what was happening. It's just Jack would just be
Maybe.
like reading his lines or whatever.
So creepy.
But yeah, so you know, we go through, we meet the twins. It's that really weird bit where she's like, "Come play with us, Danny." I've seen the dresses that they were seeing that in real life as well.
Where did you see that, Joe? Where did you see it? Where did you go to see those dresses, Joe?
It was this place in London, and it was
Oh, yeah.
in a building. It was in
The
a
cubic
museum.
room.
And it was-
Brick room.
Oh man. But so weirdly actually, when you saw the dresses, they played the audio of them saying that, so it was mad creepy. But it was weird as well, right? That bit where she's like, "Come play with us, Danny." I used to have a mate called Danny as well, right? And I would like sneak up behind him and like whisper that in his ear, and it would like creep him out every single time. But he'd never seen the film, so he didn't get the reference. And it's safe to say that we're not friends anymore. So, which is sad, but you know. But yeah. So you know, obviously we're told, you know, we know who the girls are. They're being creepy, they're weird. I think this film established the whole like creepy twins thing as well.
Probably.
Like I imagine that's where this came from. And then we got Danny who's playing on the carpet, isn't he, with these trucks, and like the ball like rolls into frame. Has anyone read a thing or seen how many takes it took them to get that shot? No. So I don't have like an exact number, but apparently it took them around 50 shots to get that right.
Oh.
And it's just the shot of the ball rolling in, like.
Oh, that's annoying.
Literally, yeah. But yeah, so then Danny goes into the room, and then there's Jack screaming and shouting, and he's having his nightmare, and he comes and he tells Wendy that he's having a nightmare about killing his family. And while I was watching it, but like Beth turned to me and she was like, "If you woke up and told me you had a nightmare about killing me, I'd be out the bloody door." Which is a fair enough point, you know what I mean? Like, if someone woke up and was like, "Oh yeah, I just had a dream about murdering you," you'd be like, "Alright, bye." Not even like, it'd be gone. So obviously Danny shows up, he's got the things on his neck, and she blames Jack, which, you know, I mean, is natural because she knew she didn't do it. And obviously she's like, "Well, you're the only other person," so. And he does that really weird thing where he's like sat in the chair and he's like, you know, that really kind of thing with his neck, where he's like looking at her with like his wide eyes and his kind of like crazy look. He's doing that, mad creepy. So Jack goes for his drink, and we find out in this scene that he is a recovering alcoholic, which is like a known thing in the book, but like he's been in recovery a lot longer in the book. Whereas in this, what is it, like 5 months or
5
something?
months.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. So this is, like I said, we were saying before, this is the first time, like Jacob, for example, would have found out about the him hurting Danny. So you'd be like, alright, well, okay, weird.
It's the first time you hear about him being an alcoholic, actually.
Yeah,
I just remembered about how in that scene where he says about Danny's arm, she's like, "And he never touched a drop since."
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I feel like you need
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
information.
It's an
Oh,
important
yeah.
thing. Yeah, there's other things that I would have cut than that scene, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just long corridor shots of just like slow zooms.
Like you
Shut them up a
couldn't.
bit.
Yeah.
Like you could have slowed down like Danny's bike ride and stuff, you know, just a little bit. Like
like just cut bits and pieces here and there. Just make scenes like slightly shorter and things like that. Like like cutting whole scenes seems like a bad decision, especially that one. You get a lot of information in that scene, but I don't know. So yeah, Wendy comes in, she tells him that someone's in the hotel. I love his reaction in this scene. He's just looking at her and he's like, "You out of your fucking mind?" And he's just like, his reaction's amazing. He's just kind of like, it's a smile he does after it. He's like, "Yeah, fuck you, whatever." It's amazing. And then obviously it cuts to Halloran in Florida. Is he in Florida? Doesn't matter. He's in that really weirdly sexual room. I always thought that was really weird.
Yeah,
like,
we thought that it'd be his face on the woman just to freak us out, but like we were so glad it wasn't.
Well, see, this is the thing. Like, you see the first one, you're like, okay, weird, but okay. But then it cuts to the other side, and he's got one on the opposite side of the room as well, and it's really weird.
It's well creepy.
But then I actually read a thing as well that the scene where it zooms in on his face, and he's all like, I don't know what's he doing. He's like horrified or whatever.
Isn't it when they're having a moment? Yeah, him and Danny are having that
he's
moment
like seeing
together.
the thing, isn't he? Yeah, because he goes into the room, doesn't it, at the same time, and Danny's like, Kubrick, he does that classic Kubrick thing when he wants to scare you, where he just cuts straight to someone making like a scary face or like scream. And he does it in 2001 as well. Literally, the bit at the end in 2001, he does it in that as well. It's really creepy.
That should just be the thumbnail of this video, just all of us going.
Yeah, literally, so a fact about when they were filming that scene as well is the guy who plays Halloran is a guy called Scatman Crothers, I think.
Yeah.
And he apparently, because they had to do that scene so many times, again, I don't know how true this story is, but this is what I heard, is that he actually broke down in tears because it took them so long to do it, because he had to do it so many times, and he was put under so much pressure or whatever. But yeah, so Danny and him have this weird moment, and Jack goes into the room, and his natural instinct when he sees the woman who supposedly hurt his child is to kiss her.
Honestly.
And then
he's a horny boy.
And there's like instant karma for that, because she turns into a creepy old woman, and he's like, "Oh man." And then when he goes back, he doesn't even tell Wendy about it, because he's like, "Man, I don't even want to tell her about that. Embarrassing."
You know, when she's chasing him and like cackling, I was cracking up, man.
It's
it was
funny.
Really funny. Do you know what is really funny in this movie? Every time it crash zooms in on something,
I love it.
Fucking loves these.
Yeah.
Crash
I love that. You know, when it like goes.
Well, funny.
It's amazing. I love it so much. They don't do it anymore, and they should, because I love that. I love that. Like just zooming in on something. It's beautiful.
The closest you get, funnily enough, is like stuff like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where it'll like zoom in a little bit to accentuate a joke.
Yeah.
I think it's a good technique. People are lazy. They don't want to have to, because for a shot like that, you'll have to quickly focus it again and know exactly what you're focusing it to. People are just lazy.
The only time I've ever like seen it otherwise is on people's like Snapchat or Instagram stories. Just zoom straight in on someone's like hissed face from like across the bar.
See, in the 80s that might have actually been scary, but these days it's just like a comedy thing, like literally.
Yeah.
Like if I was making a comedy film, I would use that. I would like utilize the shit out of it. You know what I mean? Because it's funny as fuck.
Maybe that's why we're okay watching older horror films. Because to us, they're not scary,
They're not scary now, because they do things like that. Things that used to be scary that aren't anymore. But, you know. So then we see, like, Dick's on the phone, and he's like, oh, yeah, go check him on. He's like, well, we'll send a squad car up there, which they don't. I don't even know if they say it, do they? I can't remember.
They talk about
they just say they've got to try and ring him.
Oh, they try and ring him, and then when no one replies, they just don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that. And then obviously we see Red Rum for the first time. Oh no, did we see it earlier on? No, this is the first time we see Red Rum, isn't it?
I think we do.
Right,
It's like in a flashback or a flash something.
Oh yeah, this is this bit.
We see it very briefly.
Yeah, and then like Jack. See, even this scene when Jack comes into the room, Jack's still kind of not acting like a possessed man. You know what I mean? He sits down. He was like, there was no one in there, and he's like, I think he did it to himself. He'll be fine in the morning. See, and then he doesn't actually he becomes annoyed when she suggests them leaving, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh well, I'm writing, and I'm in the mood. I'm in the
Do you not
mood of it,
realise I
but then
have
you want me
people?
to."
I have this contract. He's
Literally,
scary
yeah, like,
when he gets
it's-
angry.
that's- Like, he probably didn't need to shout at her and have a go at her, but like, that's an
not at
actual valid argument. Be like, you could just be like, I mean, we could, but like, I'm in, I'm writing, and it's in a thing. He kicks off at her and he goes out the room, and then obviously we go to the ballroom and meet Mr. Grady and go into the bathroom, and there's that really unnecessary use of the N-word like 3 times or something
Yeah,
like
Jack's
that.
a racist.
Oh
yeah.
my god!
It's like, it takes me by surprise every single time. Like, is there any need at all?
It was funny though when he
it
called
characterizes
him
him as a racist.
thingy.
Yeah, I suppose,
Bad.
yeah. But like,
Well, so here's the thing. Here's again, Jacob. I'm going to teach you about filmmaking.
Ooh, I'm listening.
I don't honestly know how well I'm going to be able to explain this. Maybe I should have visuals to aid me. Have you ever heard the term before, Jacob? 180-degree rule
I've heard of 180 degrees.
as a concept. Nice.
We can use
We'll
my
start there.
pumpkins.
So, I mean, I guess I could
These
try
are
and
two
use
people.
these Pepsi cans. Okay.
He's got Pepsi cans. Fuck your pumpkins, get him out of here.
Spoopy.
So, when you shoot a scene, say you shoot a conversational scene, you have like your 2 characters like here and here, and you will choose like one side of them to shoot your camera from. So like say there's like a circle all the way around here, and in the middle you've got the line between the 2, which is the eye line. You want to say for your camera, for you to do your 2 like shot reverse shots, to put your camera here or here, or here or here. You cannot put it here and here, because that's really disorienting for the audience. Because when you flip between the 2, so if I put this over here and this in the foreground, as you flip between the 2, when you cut, if you were to cross the line with the camera, these Pepsi cans would technically change but stay in the same position. When you stay on the same line, they cross over like this, and you can tell where people are. So it's a very, very bad thing to break the 180-degree rule, and in this scene in the bathroom, they break it, I think, 4 times.
yeah.
On purpose. So there is 2 rules to breaking it. Either if you want to cross the line, you have to physically show it. So you would rotate the camera like all the way around your actors until you've seen them move. Or if you're trying to convey something. So in this scene, it's being used where you have Jack Nicholson here and the caretaker here, and you can see the caretaker's face but not Jack Nicholson's. Same thing flipped the other way around.
Yeah.
So you break the rule in order to show their dialogue, to show that there is only one person really having this conversation, that it's not
Fair enough.
really 2 people, it's just the one.
Yeah. I actually didn't click that.
Filmmaking 101.
Filmmaking.
Filmmaking, man.
I'll make you a movie maker yet, Jacob.
See, I actually didn't really have much written on that scene, which I should have really, because it's like a pretty iconic scene. It's
That's
a big
also
scene
the
in this whole
scene.
thing.
That's also the scene that I think means Jack has to have the Shining, because when
Yeah.
he does use the slur, he's aware of Dick becoming involved, and
Yeah.
and if he wasn't, like, if he couldn't shine in some way, if he wasn't at least
Yeah.
somewhat force sensitive, how would he know that?
Fucking force sensitive. Bloody hell.
Well,
That makes sense.
This
Yeah.
is the thing as well. Yeah, like he must have some level of it, because when like Dick tells Danny about him having it, he says that him and his grandmother could do it, which means that it goes down kind of, there's like a family. It's like passed on. It's like inherited. So Danny could have got it from Jack, really, when you think about it. Like Jack could have some level of it.
I assumed that the bar or whoever like Jack ends up talking to, he's like conveying with the hotel or like whatever spooky haunted things going on,
Yeah.
and then that has the ability to like shine or see other things. So they're just like essentially telling Jack, or he's telling himself because he is now part of it or whatever. So I'm not sure if he has like, at the time I didn't see it as, oh, he has the same ability as Danny has. It's more of he's gone. He's a lost cause, and he's
that's
fully
how I view
possessed
that.
and got
Yeah.
the hotel's power, basically.
Yeah. Well, I always thought, that the hotel was the hotel that was doing it. Like the whole, because he says, doesn't he, that lots of bad things happen, it leaves like a trace. So I always get the feeling that this hotel, it was built on the Indian burial ground, which means there was already kind of those bodies and there was the whole thing about that there. And then a bunch of bad things happened as well, and they kind of all piled on top. And now it's like, does it ever say, I feel like I read, I don't know, but the whole, the 1920s, the 1921 New Year's Eve thing, it kind of hints that everyone at that party died or something. Something really, there's a scene later on that was cut, it wasn't in the version me and Jacob watched, but when Wendy's running through the hotel and seeing all the weird stuff, there's a bit where she runs into like the lobby and sees like a bunch of skeletons everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, which
that
makes
was
me
also
think,
really funny.
Yeah, that was quite weird.
It's that right there makes me think that something, like it was something really bad happened, like I don't know, someone poisoned the drinks or whatever, everyone died, I don't know. But something bad happened on that night which made everyone died. I think that's the reason at the end, well, I mean, we'll get into that, but I think that's like a big, huge moment in the hotel, so that's why that's like that's why it's the 1920s when he sees it, because that was the biggest kind of event that's left a mark on the hotel, maybe, I don't know. That's the kind of thing I always felt when I was watching it. But yeah, so the next, he goes and he finds something he doesn't eat. He's talking to Mr. Grady in the bathroom, and he's like, you got to kill your family. And then we go to Wendy going into like the big thing at the hall room, and she sees the pages, the all work and no play. Which
that scene fucking scared me.
Yeah,
the more and more she flicked through it, I think there's an element of as someone who's written stuff, the effort it would have taken to actually write that shit,
especially on a typewriter,
that is a man fucking gone, right? Yeah. like that's scary.
I felt bad for the runner on set who was told to do that on the typewriter.
See, this is
constantly.
Yeah. Well, no, they would have had to type the whole thing on a typewriter, and there's a rumor as well. Like no one really knows how true it is, but there's a rumor that Kubrick did that himself, that he typed all of that himself.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past
not
him.
Something. Yeah, like I can see him doing it.
Oh God, what's her name? What's the actress that plays Shelley Duvall or whatever her name is? It said that apparently on set, when she's crying in the scenes, she's legit crying because Kubrick would make her just redo scenes and bully her and just make her have her own descent into madness.
I've actually got something like about. Does anyone know? There's obviously this thing about the bullying, but does anyone know how excessive it was?
No,
I've read it, but I can't remember.
Oh, it was so bad. He apparently. Because it's one of the things that is like big about the film that not many people know, is that he was just horrible to her. Like he was really bad. Like it was like a proper double standards. Like he would treat Jack Nicholson with like all the respect. He was like, oh yeah, Jack Nicholson, yeah, you're doing great. And then he was just horrible to Shelley Duvall. Like Jack, because Kubrick's like, no, he doesn't like media being on set and stuff like that. But he let his daughter document behind the scenes for this particular film. So there's like a little documentary film that Kubrick's daughter made, and in it you can see, like there's a bit where it's the bit where they're filming the bit when he's in the freezer or the storage thing, and he's like, there's cameras down here and they're filming it, and he's like, go check it out, stuff like that. Kubrick gets up and he's like, yeah, it was really good, Jack, yeah, really good. And then it cuts to a bit where it's the bit where they're doing the He's Johnny bit, and Shelley suggests one thing, and he's like, no, I prefer it the other way, don't like that. He just shuts all the things down. He just shuts all of her her opinions wrong. He says that they're pointless and that they're not thingy. He's just horrible to her. And there was the thing as well. Let me see if I can try and find it. There was a big thing about how there was this. I think it was the time they were shooting the end when she runs out of the hotel, just after Jack and Danny are in the maze, and there was a miscommunication on set or something. So Kubrick and all the crew were outside ready to start filming, and she was inside, and they were like, okay, action, but then she didn't hear them say action, And then it was just a miscommunication between the two parties doing it. But Cubic just snaps and he goes over and starts yelling at her, and says that he's like he's saying you're wasting everyone's time, and if you don't look desperate in the scene, you're going to be wasting everyone's time. And like there's a thing where he would tell the crew to not sympathise with her. He's like, don't sympathise with Shelley. He would say that to them all the time. He would tell the crew not to.
It's a bit much.
Sounds like a prick. Yeah.
He was
Sick,
and people
Or like
trying
Stanley Kubrick. Prick.
Yeah.
Hey!
Good.
Dickhead.
Good. People try and justify it by saying that he was trying to kind of create the insecurity in her that the character has, so that she plays it better. And that's actually something that Shelley Duvall says when talking about this experience. Like, she actually says that she wouldn't trade it for anything, and it's because of the way Stanley treated her. She says, "Oh yeah, I got my best performance I could because he treated me like that." But like, he was a bit excessive. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I still don't think that
he
really
bullied her like all the time. Like, it
changes the
wasn't
fact that he was a
necessary.
cunt.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like, he did kind of a similar thing with Jack Nicholson, but it's nowhere near as excessive. It was something like he would only let Jack Nicholson eat cheese sandwiches because he didn't like them, and it would make him agitated. That was it. That was the whole. And then with Shelley Duvall, it was like, "Oh no, you're bullying her all the time." It wasn't great. And that bit you were saying about that scene where she's going up the stairs and she's crying. Does anyone know like the number of shots it took to get that right? It's one of the highest like takes. Counts.
69.
Higher.
Is it like 150?
A little less.
A little less.
Well, yeah. It took. I mean, no. A bit like, well, you're looking. So the takes, it took them 127 takes. It took them to get that right.
Whoa.
So the way she's all like, yeah, literally the way she's all like, she's like crying, she's like weak or whatever. That's because they were doing it for hours and hours, and it just broke her down and bad. But yeah, I love that the bit though, the bit where he kicks off at her about that miscommunication. You can see it on it was recorded, and you can see him like yelling at her basically. But she just doesn't even think. She's just kind of like, well, it wasn't my, I didn't hear you. You know what I mean? She's not like, cause even though he's a big, huge director, you'd think that she'd be like too scared to like say something to him, but she's just not. She just stood in the doorway like, well, I can't even get the bloody door. She can't even get the door open to begin with, And I'm like, yes, you shout like Stanley Kubrick. It's amazing. Jack Nicholson actually said as well that when he's talking about her role, he described her role as the toughest job that any actor has ever had, that he's seen has ever had. Like, he recognised that she was like, wasn't great, so. But yeah, so Jack Nicholson, not that bad of a guy as well, even though I said the M word. So he goes crazy, and we get that awesome scene where she's like swinging the bat at him, and I actually like that's obviously that bit in The Simpsons is really funny as well. And she locks him in the freezer, and we get that really cool shot from underneath.
By the way, that's my point of no return.
Right.
The scene in the freezer, it's just the way Jack Nicholson's acting in that when he's got his head pressed up against the door. It's too zany, and it reminds me of the Joker. And I enjoy him as the Joker, but that's not the character he's playing here. Like, I get that he's a madman, but he was like a creepy madman. Now he's just a crazy, zany madman. And I started all the tension just from the previous scene, which was really scary, and the movie never got it back for me.
Do you think if any bit could have been cut, considering they they cut 24 minutes, do you think that's one of those bits that they should have just scrapped?
Yeah.
See,
putting him in the freezer is fine. Having him yell at her. I mean, there's some stuff in it where he's taunting her, where it's really good.
Yeah.
It's just the bits where he's like going mad, licking his lips and like wobbling his face and stuff. That
I get that. Yeah. Where he does the thing on the door, where he's like, ooh, like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
stuff.
it's like. See, the thing with it is, right, I wouldn't want to cut the scene because I really love the shot from below. It's just really kind of weird, yeah. It's really weird, but I get what you mean. He becomes this kind of different kind of crazy in that particular shot, or that particular scene. he's like, oh yeah. He could have just been like, oh yeah, go check it out or something. You know what I mean? He didn't have to be all like weird about it. There's that bit as well where he tries to trick her into thinking that he's banged his head or something.
He's like,
oh,
please, I need to go and see a doctor. Yeah.
Literally, yeah. I don't know if this is true. This might just be me like reaching, but there's a bit in the book at the end where for like a split second, that was weird. For a split second, he just snaps out of it, and he's like saying to Danny, is like, oh my, I'm so like, I love you, just run away because I'm gonna kill you, basically. Like it's really weird. Like the hotel just loses its grip on him for like a second, and like he's fine, and then he just goes back to trying to kill him. And I mean, I don't think it's a reference to that maybe in the film, but like it's obviously that doesn't happen in the film. So this bit, I get the same kind of vibes, but obviously this is very deceitful in this in the film. But yeah, so she goes out and the snowcat's disabled or whatever. And then this is the weird bit. Who lets him out the freezer?
Right. How does he do that?
It's got to be. It's the ghost. It's the hotel allowing him to
carry
on.
It leads you to believe that it's...
He uses the Force.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's because of that I think that he had the Shining. He must do. Because how does he do it? There's a theory that Danny lets him out. I don't know how that one works. And there's... What's the other... It's really weird as well, though, because when you watch the behind the scenes, the guy who plays Mr. Grady, he was there in full costume while they were filming that.
Oh, wow.
And you don't see him. He was in that tux that you see him in. And he was there that day, filming the whole thing in the freezer, talking to him. So I don't know if... It's really weird, I find... But yeah, I feel like if it was... I don't know. It could have been the hotel, or it could have been thingy. But that was I think that's the reason, because I think it does actually explain it in the book. But I think if they kept it out, and we wouldn't be talking about it right now if we'd seen who let him out. You know what I mean? Like, it's... By not knowing, it kind of creates the...
Kubrick clearly is the sort of person who wants to weird you out and wants to leave out things because he wants you to think about it and he wants you to talk about it and have an interpretation of it. And at the end of the day, that makes it art. As pretentious as it sounds, that's what makes it art. If you can have a thought about it, negative, positive, or fucking way around the bend, then it's art.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the thing, though. Like, that's not always... Like, for a film, I get why they think it. I really like this film because it does that. But for other people who don't study film or don't have the same interests...
That's me. Hello.
Well, that's what I mean, like, Jacob, with this bit, did you like that? The fact that it's really it doesn't explain anything, or... Because I imagine, like, it's... Because I didn't mean people like you, because you've got, like, a big, like, fan of film. You're, like, a fan, like... You're a fan of film.
But the casual
people
viewer,
who... people who just go like, oh, I quite like the look of that from the trailer, I'll go watch it, or whatever. I'll watch it when it's on Sky. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, people like that, like when my girlfriend watched it, she doesn't like this film. Because she's like, well, it's pointless. You know, what just tells what happened. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't like it because it's... it doesn't explain it, and what's the point?
I was watching this with two of my housemates at the same time, and as we finished, we all looked at each other and kind of went,
well, yeah.
"Okay, sure, that was The Shining. That's the one everyone was mad about." But I guess you have to know what it is you're looking for in order to appreciate it a bit more. Because like you can watch, I've seen some really shit films where like there's a plot hole where, oh, he knows that there's this other guy coming. How does he know that? Doesn't matter. He just knows. Or he just gets out the freezer, or the hotel, like the set doesn't make any sense. Where they just happen because, like watching it as an audience, you don't know if the director's thought to do that deliberately, or if it's just like if you don't know shit production value.
Well, yeah,
it's the sort of thing that you couldn't get away with if this was like your debut, or if you did it as something that's like your debut, it would only get appreciated way further down the line.
Like I always thought that like with Tarantino, when he did the thing with Pulp Fiction when it was out of order, like he he like he was very lucky that people like that, I think.
Yeah.
That could have potentially been a film that no one liked at the beginning, and now everyone likes it. But it was kind of well received when it first came out as well. So he found the weird, kind of like middle ground almost. People liked it because, people liked it because it was like that, and that was like a big risk. That could have potentially blown up in his face, really.
No, totally.
But it didn't. So, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like it's
because to have a film that's out of order like that, as an audience, you don't go, oh, well, clearly this is just a mistake. You when it's something that's apparent as having the scenes out of order, you think, oh, this is intentional. This is the point. Yeah. But when it's just, if you don't know, it just looks like it's bad filmmaking, and these are just plot holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because it's Kubrick, you know it's...
You have to
establish that legacy for himself.
Exactly.
You know he's a nutter, and everything is happening on purpose. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. Like, it's... You know that everything you see is there for a reason. And even if it's like a really stupid reason, it's still... You know, that's the thing with them when you watch... Yeah, I get what you mean by you said, but if it was like his debut or something, it wouldn't have...
It's like the opposite. The total opposite is Peter Jackson working on The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where pre-production was happening so fast that he didn't really know what was going on. Like, sets were being built, and you can watch him walk around them, like in the behind-the-scenes documentaries, and he's finding things in them, going, "Oh, look at that! That's weird." Because he's got no time to like stop and plan anything.
Yeah. Well, I think I read a thing that they were planning this movie for 5 years. Like, it's a long time, and they only filmed it like in '79. So, I can't remember what his last film before this was, but it's you can just see him like every single detail. You'd go through the whole set, wouldn't he, and be like, "Yeah, no, this needs to go here." And like behind the scenes, there's a scene when he was in the behind the scenes for this where they're about to start filming, and then he just tells them to stop really quick. He's like, "No, hold on a sec, less wind," and then they just cut the wind off a little bit. Or less snow, and they cut it down a little bit, and then they play. Then they shoot, and it's little things like that. It's really weird, and like he's like a perfectionist or whatever. But I get it. But I don't know. But yeah, things like with the like with this bit about who lets him out. I think it's a really obvious like thing you see, like who just let him out. You know what I mean? So I think things like that. It's like when you're saying about with Pulp Fiction, you know that it's in the wrong order for a reason. And with this, I feel like you know you've not been shown who's let him out for a reason, but it doesn't really make it exactly clear what the reason is straight away. You got to think about it, which I guess is the point. But yeah, so obviously we'll go from that bit. So Danny writes red rum on the door, and I kind of like that it happens, and then as soon as she wakes up, Jack like comes in through the door.
Crash zoom on red rum as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. It's like it's through the window, the mirror reflection. It's amazing. And Jack obviously comes in through the door. He's like, doing his stuff.
Honey,
and then
I'm home.
Yeah, oh man, it's so good. And then he's doing. See the bit where he does the kind of the little pigs. That bit. It's the same kind of vibes as when he's in the freezer, I think.
Yeah.
When he's being thingy, it's the same kind of. He's being all jokey and stuff.
He's gone totally nut job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of. Because at that point, he's just his at that point. Like, he's just going around the corridor going like, Danny boy, and things like that. So, but yeah, so obviously this is the famous scene where he crashes through the door. And apparently I read a thing where they had to do that scene so many times. They went through like 60 doors or something to do it. And it took them 3 days. Yeah.
Have you heard the reason why?
Go on.
It's something to do with, apparently, the props team built a really weak door because they were like, this needs to be easy. And he did it, and he just tore it to pieces because he used to be a fire marshal.
Yeah.
And so apparently the story is that he just chopped through these doors way too easily, and then they had to make stronger doors because he just found it way too easy, which I find quite funny. He's a
Do you know what?
beast.
I really love how the camera moves with his swings in this sequence.
Yeah, I like that.
Sick.
It does, yeah. It's so cool. See, it's there's when you watch the behind the scenes for it as well, there's a bit where he's getting ready to do it, and he's going like Jack Nicholson thingy, He does. He picks up the axe and he's like doing this. And there's like a member of the crew just walking like that next to him, and he does like swing, and the crew's like, it's like trying to duck out the way because he wants to wax him with this axe. And he's gone mad, and it's proper. I want to like see one of the takes with the weaker doors where he just swings and the whole door just explodes on impact. That'd be amazing. He'd just be like looking at the camera, what the fuck do I do now? But yeah, so he comes to the door and we get the iconic line. He's like, "Here's Johnny," and does anyone know what that is? Like, because it was ad-libbed, so he didn't think it wasn't written. He just did it. Does anyone know what it is though? Like why he says it? Like, what's a reference
I
to?
assumed because Jack and John can sometimes just be interchangeable names.
Is that his ghost name?
So I just thought that because maybe she called him Johnny when they were sweet and lovely bloodbirds.
No.
That's genuinely just what I got out of it.
See, weird that you said that actually, because I keep bringing the book into it, but his name in the book is John, not Jack. But that's not even the reason he says
Nicholson have something in a contract where he has to be called Jack?
Just forgets his name. I thought this as well.
In Batman, he's called Jack as well.
He's called Jack as well. Yeah.
Jack, and he just
forgets
confuses
his
him.
name on the thing. Yeah.
He's like, you know, when you were talking the other day about like the dog who's called John, and he's like, "Who's that? I'm not John. That's John. That's Jack Nicholson."
Yeah. He just comes into
Not
the door.
me.
Here's Danny. Oh wait, no, that's the kid, not me. Just like he must do like. But yeah, no, that's the thing that he called John in the book. He's called John Torrance, and they changed it to Jack. So maybe he just couldn't remember his name or something. Who knows?
What an idiot.
But that's not even the reason he says it. So apparently the reason he says it is because at the time, the Tonight Show was hosted by Johnny Carson, and at the beginning of every single episode, the announcer would say who's on the show, and then he'd be like, "And then here's Johnny," and then Johnny Carson would come out, and that's what it's a reference to.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so, and apparently Kubrick didn't even know that. He just thought of it on the spot, that Jack Nicholson had just done it, and then he put it in the film, and then later found out that was the reason he did it. I don't know if he was annoyed by it. I don't know. But yeah, it's maybe he was like, "Oh no, it's the most iconic line." But see, there's no this scene in the book. It's kind of, but there's the kind of equivalent line in the book is so shit. He like breaks the door down, and he says, I don't know if this is like a reference to something else that happens in the book, but he breaks the door down and goes, "Take your medicine," and then that's it. So, and then it's
Don't forget
That's
your pills.
yeah, exactly.
2 doses a day.
Literally. And then in the TV, it's even worse in the TV thing, because he doesn't even say that, I don't think. He just breaks the door down, peeps his head in, goes, "Boo," like that. Like, I get that it's them
It's
trying
like they're
to
not even
replace
going to try
like,
and be iconic. I love
literally,
that.
it's like, right, most iconic line ever, let's just not even try. Literally, like, but like, saying that though, it's not even good in the book. Like, fix it, make it better. But, I don't know. It's so bad. But yeah, so then we got that bit, and I don't know if anyone noticed, there's like a movie mistake in this scene. The bit where Dick arrives, and Jack like turns around. Both the panels in the door are missing, not just the one that he knocked down.
Yes, I know.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of behind. And then I remember when I watched the Doctor Sleep trailer, I looked at it and saw that only one of the panels were missing, and I was like, that's not right, that's wrong, but, you know, I don't know. But yeah, so Dick arrives, and we get that bit where he's walking through, and honestly, this is one of the only scenes when I first watched it where I actually, like, jumped.
I fully
And
jumped.
I actually, like,
yeah.
when he comes around the corner, and he's like, "No!" straight into his chest, I actually, like, proper shit myself. I was like, it came out of nowhere. And, like, I should have been expecting it, but I just wasn't.
But that's a jump scare to me. Modern horror films, a jump scare is used constantly. You see a corridor and you're like, there's going to be a jump scare, something's going to run at the camera.
Oh, yeah.
That's a jump scare to me. You don't see it coming at all.
Yeah, well, see, it's like on the topic of Stephen King, like, filmed. That was my issue with It Chapter 2.
I've not seen it yet.
They kept on using the same kind of trick every single time. It was the one where someone walk up to, like, a curtain or something, and you'd be like, "Oh, there's something going to be behind the curtain," and then he would pull the curtain back and there'd be nothing there, and you'd be like, "Ah," and then the person would turn around and the third scary thing would be behind them or something. they use that so much, and they use it like once in the first film, but in the second one they use it like not constantly, but it's the most used one. Yeah, it's a lot more, and I'm kind of like, I expect it. Like, there's a bit where one of the characters walk up, and it's that example that I just gave, and he opens it, and I'm like, oh, for God's sake, it's going to be behind him, innit? And he turns around, it's behind him, like, great, amazing, CGI monster, amazing.
Need to have like another bluff after that. So he goes goes to the curtain, moves it, nothing there. Turns around, still nothing there. And then again, and then it's that.
Turns around back and looks behind the other curtain or something. You know what I mean?
And then he's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I like the story of that film, but it was really predictable, I think.
But yeah, so he kills Dick, and then he sees Danny. Danny's hiding in that thing, and we get the bit where he's walking with the bat, and he's like, he's limping. He's limping at this point, isn't? No, not the bat. The axe. He's like, oh, Danny boy. And like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen, there's an episode of South Park where Randy buys a Blockbuster, and the joke throughout the whole episode is like, no one goes to Blockbuster, and there's ghosts in it, and he's like, oh, I get it, there's ghosts because it's old and no one goes to Blockbuster, and it becomes The Shining, and there's a bit where he gets like an axe.
You alright, man?
It's just banged on the wall. No, there's a bit where he gets like an axe, and he's like,
you don't want to talk
now. Walking through, and
get a noise complaint.
But yeah,
Like,
can you add a really overdramatic?
My neighbour won't fucking stop talking about The Shining.
Sam, can you edit in like a really loud like thumping noise, so it's like less like what's going on there?
Well, I thought you
It's
were
like putting like a jump scare in the podcast. It's like
Yes, just as we're talking about jump scares.
Oh, that's amazing. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the South Park, and they do it, and he's running through the corridors, and he's like, Stan. Yeah, there was that. That was the whole thing of it. And then obviously they go into the maze, and they chase through the maze, and he pulls that weird thing where he
traces his steps and stuff.
I love that. That was smart.
It really was, yeah. And also because the maze isn't even in the book, so that was purely Kubrick, which, you know, I love. And then when he sees all the weird stuff, she sees that weird bear man as well.
Yeah, zoom in on the furry that's going down on the way to...
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like,
well funny.
That comes completely out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, was that supposed to be... Oh, I don't even know what it was. It was just very off-putting. Why was that there?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. It was really weird, but it creeps you out, doesn't it? And you're like, what the fuck? It's getting weird. See, I think by her seeing all the ghosts as well, it kind of doesn't. It takes away from the theory that Jack has the Shining.
Yeah,
because if she's seeing them as well, then that just means that it's just the hotel. Whereas if she didn't see them, you could be like, oh well.
I mean, the stuff she sees, it's so weird that I don't even know that you could argue that it's not even necessarily the hotel or the spirits or whatever. Like, it is just she's lost her mind.
Yeah,
she's completely lost all sense of sanity. So she's seeing third people and rivers of blood, and it's all just nonsense.
I think by her seeing it as well, so late in the film as well. She doesn't see anything. She's like the only sane one really throughout the whole thing, and then she sees it suddenly, and it becomes like this whole big thing, and it's like I'm really thinking. But yeah, so she starts seeing the stuff, and then I'm seeing that bit. We get the skeletons. If in the version that you guys watched, we didn't have that in our cut down Sky version, but and then obviously they go outside, and then Jack's like, oh no, he's like mumbling or whatever. And then he freezes, and it's all in the words of Stephen King. And I like to think
it was funny
that he, he like freezes, and like it's like he's frozen in the hotel. You know what I mean? That's what I like to think at the end. He's like just frozen in time. Then that's the reason he freezes. That's
the thing is I got the sense that it was supposed to be he's here now forever. Like he can't ever leave. But the actual shot of frozen Jack is fucking hilarious. And again, maybe that's something that was scary in 1980, but it's a really funny shot. And I think it almost would have been more effective if you just see him break down in the maze, unable to get out, and the snore just starts burying him and burying him and burying him, and he's like wailing, and then you can just cut away and you go, oh well, he froze. Like you just as an audience member, I can make that jump. You don't need to see it because it was just funny.
Literally, it would have been thingy, wouldn't it? I feel like it would have been better if like you said, like he breaks down, he leans against the thing, and it could literally have just been like a fade shot where it just fades and you see the snow like grow and piling on him, maybe. Like that would have been better. And you think about it as well, even in the 80s, obviously the camera quality and like the cinemas and stuff, the projectors wouldn't have been as high quality. So maybe that because we're watching it in HD, so it looks not that great. But maybe in like the 80s, something they did, it looked okay. I don't know, but who knows?
Are you actually? You seem a little bit shaken by those knocks, Joe. Are you okay?
He's really quiet
it's
now.
Not just that he's quiet. He's like all the energy's gone. He's like, oh my god.
No one's next door.
Neighbour's gonna start coming through with an axe. Like.
Oh no! I laughed too loud. Oh man. So
maybe it's a good time to wrap it up.
So we're at the end now anyway, aren't we? So we get that final shot that you like Jones the hotel, and I like to think as well that bit basically just kind of, so the next time someone comes to the hotel and they start going crazy, Jack is somewhat one of the ghosts that they see. So the way he sees Mr. Grady, they see Jack.
Yeah, they see Jack.
Yeah. And he.
I think that's why you're showing him in the photograph at the end, anyway.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. Can you see Mr. Grady in the picture though? I don't know if you can, unless he's in one of the other pictures. He could be in one of the other pictures though, but yeah. So then he's part of the hotel now. So yeah. There's actually really quick though. There was actually an alternate ending that I read about in like a version or something. I read that there was a version of it that. It was on the theatres for like a week. Then they cut it, they got rid of it, and there's like a scene or like an alternate ending where it says like Wendy in like the hospital, and the manager comes in and he's like, oh well, we went through the whole hotel. There's nothing weird was going on. There was no trace of anyone else. And she's like, whoa. And then there's like a message comes on screen that says like the hotel stayed open and it would still close in the winters or something like that. And it was. Thingy, which actually reminds me of the very final last fact of the whole night is that the first night that they spend alone in the hotel is the 31st of October, which is Halloween.
Ooh, spooky!
Yeah. You should all know that in my notes it says Halloween, but with lots of letters, so it's long. So it's like Halloween. So there you go. But yeah, there you go. The Shining. Done.
Nice.
Got there
eventually. That was The Shining. We got through it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through it one by one, giving any final thoughts we have on the film, and we're each going to rank the movie out of 10, and then I'm going to use maths to get an overall score out of 100, and we'll see where it ranks on our best to worst movies of all time list. Amelia,
hello. Okay, so yeah, like I say, my first time seeing this film, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really I just enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. Like I say, it's not really my kind of a horror film in the sense that, like, no, it is my kind of a horror film even, because I don't like gory horror. This is more of a psychological horror, and that I think sometimes is a lot better. And before I forget it, my other Blade Runner thing was Lloyd, the bartender, is actually Tyrell from Blade Runner, who's the guy who creates all the replicants. So there you go, fun fact. My rating for this film is an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Quite high,
Real. Jacob.
So it's no secret that I like my films, but I haven't studied them. So I feel like one disadvantage Kubrick has is now that you can watch his films in any order. You don't watch his first one first and work your way up.
Yeah.
So it's like you get slightly introduced to like entry level Kubrick and then go further. Like the first Kubrick film I saw was 2001. After being told, oh, you have to watch 2001, it's a classic, it's Kubrick.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that. Similar with this, I'd heard it was amazing, heard great things about it, and even just doing this for a short amount of time, I've got to appreciate good tension, good scenes and framing and stuff a little bit better. But, oh man, it hit all the expectations I was expecting it to. So I think that's just a circumstance of it being me and my background. So I'm only going to give it like a 6.
6.
Yeah, but you're like not every other viewer, but you are an audience as well. It's just bad luck that you have been stuck with 3 film people. That's all. Do you know what I mean?
Bit unfortunate. That's why I had to like explain the whole thing rather than just saying nah, shit, 6.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Joe?
So obviously, I love this film. The rest of the podcast obviously said that, but yeah, I think when I think my favorite horror film, it's weird because it's between those 3 that I spoke about at the beginning. It's this one, it's Alien, it's The Thing. So I never really have like a oh yeah, this is my favorite. But if I had to pick my favorite non-horror sci-fi film, this would be it. And it's not even that it's scary; it's just that I love like Jack Nicholson's performance in it. I love the music and I love just the set design and stuff like that. So, and obviously there's a lot to unpack with it, which is really good when it comes to like a thriller. I'd say this is classed more as a thriller these days as well. If this came out now, it'd be more of a thriller rather than just a straight up horror. But I would give it, because I love it so much, I'm going to give it a 9. Because nothing's
9.
perfect and it doesn't deserve a 10. So. Yeah.
Solid. So I'm gonna err more along the side of Jacob, honestly. I'm gonna give it a 6 as well, but I sort of want to make it clear that with my version of like out of 10, it's not a case of like everything starts as 10 and then you dock points as problems go up. Everything starts at 0 and it earns points on the way, and that's 6 very good points of really good quality filmmaking that you can pull stuff from. That's really, really obvious that like if you're even a little bit interested in making a film, whether it be shorts or TV or full features, you should watch. Like, this is one of the movies you should watch. But like I say, I had my point of no return. I failed to emotionally connect with it, so the remaining 4 points it could have gotten for having like a really, really strong like characters and story, unfortunately it just wasn't able to get me. So yeah, I gave it a 6 out of 10. So, after I use maths, that gives us a score of 72.5.
Ooh.
Nice.
Which puts it at now the 4th greatest movie of all time.
Who's still 1,
forget-
2, and 3?
Yeah, I forget like every single week.
1, 2, and 3 are Baby Driver, Monsters Inc., and Beetlejuice.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's fair.
That's not bad.
So that brings us all the way around to the most important bit of the show, and that's finding out what we're going to be watching next week. So by the time that the episode comes out, it's not even going to be October anymore, but I wanted to jump on the Halloween stuff with the spookies and the monsters and the
Spoopies.
but I wanted to give us something a little bit different. I wanted to give us our first movie from across the pond, the first non-Western movie on this show, and I want to watch Shin Godzilla.
Ooh, exciting.
Okay.
Okay.
So this movie is in Japanese. There is, if you can't be asked to in subtitles, an English dub available. However, dubs and movies, you know, we've all seen kung fu movies at some point, I'm sure. What I will say is the version that has been released in the UK, as far as subtitles go, the official one, is a bit wank and annoying. So it's really up to you which version you want to watch. We're not really going to be talking about the dub either way. It's just more about the movie. So yeah, join us next week then for Shin Godzilla. Let us know again what you thought of The Shining this week. Follow us all over on social media, and like and subscribe. Oh, we done so, boys, and hopefully your neighbour doesn't kill you, Joe.
See you next time.